Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Digital Leader series at the Digital Transformation Lab, Cork University Business School. Today we are delighted to have Antonio Grasso with us. Antonio is an author, thought leader, technologist, and sustainability advocate shaping new narratives on the sharing economy. Antonio, why don't we start by getting you to introduce yourself to our audience?
Tony, as first, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for organizing this amazing discussion. I'm Italian. I'm a software developer. Basically, I started 40 years ago as a software developer, and then I grew in my sector in IT by becoming a software architect, and then becoming a designer, a team leader. And then now, after more than almost 1 year, more than 40 years, I become a tough leader, just to put to work my knowledge, because every time I like to blend business processes, because in my software experience as a software architect, developer, designer, I was involved only in business software. So interpret, understand the business model and try to connect them with the information technology. That was every time well, currently I have my own startup. I worked with many companies in Italy and also in the USA, but it's 5 years. Then I founded my new company. It's my own company that is a startup, is digital business innovation. I like to, continue working on real life project and then also working online with many collaboration also with the brands, to highlight the value proposition or write article. It's something really interesting. And basically I see last year, as you know, that I wrote my book last year because I was wondering what happened in the next 10 to 15 years with this ever-evolving technology. What happens to society? What happens to the economy? Because it's not easy to understand. So basically, it was a big research, months and months on research. I must studied also sociological science because I was unaware of that, and I cannot say what happened in society because I know what happened in economy because I live the economy, the market. I live the market, but I'm not a sociologist, so I have personal experience, but to understand what happened to people because of digital evolution, it's not something easy. You need to study sociological science. And that was I did. I studied 4 paradigms of society, can be conflict, orders, actions, and etc. I try to understand how technology can fit one of more of these paradigms and try to figure out what happened. Sorry for the long introduction.
Yeah, no, perfect. And I've read your book, and for everyone, it's called Towards a Post-Digital Society. It's a fascinating read. In fact, what really struck me was the efforts you made in your young career to get into digital, because it wasn't easy. But having got in there, I mean, you certainly have made a mark. And for those who don't know, Antonio has over 1 million followers listening to what he has to say about the whole world of digital. But Antonio, post-digital society, a really interesting concept because organizations struggle with digital transformation and digital economies, never mind post-digital economies. And now you're sort of saying, well, actually, we need to start thinking about, well, where do we go to from here? Now, I want to quote you in the book because I think you said the starting point is when we don't notice digital because it's an integral part of our life. So where do you think we are on that spectrum? Like, are we halfway there, near the end, or at the beginning even?
Okay, look, I need to talk a bit before of something I have in my mind. Why I named my book Post-Digital Society. Why the post-digital? Because we are living a digital society. We are almost living a digital society. Okay, if you look at the big events like the war, like a pandemic. They create a before and an after. You know, every time we are used to talk about pre-pandemic or post-pandemic. Now we are in the post-pandemic. If we talk about the industrial revolution, we have the pre-industrial age and we have the post-industrial age. Without referencing to philosophical current as postmodern or etc. This is something real, you know, the post-industrial, where we have the industry 4.0, where we have the post-pandemic. This does not mean that you don't have more the pandemic still exists, is in our experiences inside us, but we are used to, you are used to it. That resonate with my idea. What will happen in 10 years when we will become used to digital? We will no more identify digital as an innovation like we do now. We wonder, Tony, for artificial intelligence, generative AI. We are creating such a buzz, such an hype around generative AI that many people do not understand what is happening actually, but we can talk later on this. So in my mind, I was thinking, when we become used to digital, when we become digital technology will become like tap water at home, like electricity.
Electricity.
You know, Tony, we do not recognize electricity because it's part of our life. We are in a postal electricity era because it's part of our life. We have not.
I'm always amused on that one, Antonio, because, you know, in the second industrial revolution or post it, we had heads of electricity. And, you know, today we have heads of digital. And I think what you're saying is, well, actually roll this forward. Well, digital is just going to be like, you know, everything else. It's just part of what we are, who we are, how we live.
So I make a small analogy. When we will no more notice its presence, but when we will notice only its absence, that is the time we need to start to talking about post-digital. Because now we are still noticing the presence. You know, I have connection, I don't have a connection. No, I'm using the app. Do it online. You know, we are adding to our actions, we are adding a stimulus to do it online because it's something that is innovative. But when it will become no more innovative, it is the standard way to do things. We will no more think an alternative to the digital because that will be the only way we move in our society. What will happen with that? This technology that is closing the gap between everything. This is why in my book I imagined a lot of things that someone can say, Antonio, this is too much in my opinion, because you are talking about digital direct democracy in your book. It's too much. I know, can be too much, but I'm not a political. I'm not saying that we must do. As a technologist, I can say we can do, but not we must do. There are different views. So but going back to your question, post-digital, because it's something that we will no more notice in the future. That is my take on that.
Actually, interesting. I know you talk about smartphones in the book and how it actually changed the perception of humans and their role in society. If we leave the house without our smartphone, we notice it, right? But if we have it with us, we just expect it. It's just a part of us now. So I think is what you're saying is, yeah, okay, yeah, smartphone today, but actually in the future it'll be everything. And if it's not there, that's when we start to notice.
Now, imagine the telephone now, Tony. Can you imagine? Okay, I need to call Tony. Yeah, you pick naturally. You pick the phone. You dial the number and you talk with everyone. But you don't think I need to link to my network. I need to pick the telephone.
Yeah.
No, I call Tony. I need to call Tony. And the action is only one. You don't have alternative. You know, you don't have a smoke signal. Like, you know, we don't have. You have only the one way, that is the phone. This will become our standard in the future, in my opinion, in the next 10 to 15 years. But it's not that. It's not the the sheer availability of digital technology, because we will change a lot as people, in my opinion.
So Antonio, you talk about, the five foundations as you see it, and I just call them out. Personalization and servitization, user-generated content and the pro-consumer, the creator economy, disintermediation and decentralization, and blockchain and smart contracts. And I'm curious as to how did you come up with those five, and what was your thinking behind it?
Why five? Okay, let me say that the foundation is the proof to my theory. The foundation of my digital society. In my book, if you read my book, is the five foundation. There are the five proof that I see as pillars of my construct, my theoretical construct, that is the post-digital society. Why? Because if you think about user-generated content, everything began then. When we started putting our idea in a text box somewhere, on social media, or I remember the blog, the Microsoft blog, was one of the first blog. Currently I forgot the name, but shame on me. But it was one of the first blog when we started to writing no more on paper for our use, but on the computer for other people use. That is user-generated content, the paradigm of user-generated content, where now we are built everything, all the social media are built on top of that. We cannot say that we are not using. User-generated content is one of the foundation of the digital, the social media platform, the way we interact with each other, the blogs, you have Medium, Substack. We have a lot of platform that allow us, and that sparkled in our mind the desire to share more. And then I started to make a parallel. This can be a desire to share more, but this is also the beginning of a new role as a people, and that subtly started the disintermediation. Disintermediation, what I mean? Disintermediating from a central organization that until now has fed our knowledge. For example, media, newspaper, TV, it's a media, the media, the mainstream media. We can talk about in the media entertainment sector. But if we talk about in the finance sector, we have the central authority, we have the central bank. If we talk about the process which we see the movie, for example, we see a disintermediation also because Netflix, Paramount Plus, and Disney Plus are not centralizing, they are production. So we see another phenomenon that is personalization and servitization. I'm trying to build a unique link to the five foundation. But servitization, enabled by digitalization, is a phenomenon that transforms product to services. One example is Netflix, one example is Disney Plus. But it's not an easy process where you can only see a movie. Behind the servitization is a big shift in the business model of the movie producer. If you watch Disney never sold directly the movie to a consumer. Never happened in the past, but now it's happening. And it's happening, we are not recognizing it. This is the problem. We are harnessing, exploiting this intermediation, but we don't know that we are, for example, another example is the YouTuber that inform people, and they are disintermediating from the mainstream media, how react the mainstream media? And the mainstream media now are on the guard. They are watching because they need to find a new way to live. So as in the chess, the game, you have a move. In Italy, we say l'arrocco, when you move the tower with the king. I don't know in English the exact term when you move, but you are protecting your king.
Ah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
you are
And
protecting
we,
your, I don't know in English how it's called, the arrocco. In Italy, it's called the arrocco. When you move the tower with the king, protecting the king. This is what mainstream media do. They are protecting themselves. And it is a strategy. I don't want to talk about their strategy, but it is a strategy. So disintermediation will be even more personalization. It is why, in my opinion, is one of the foundation, because we can do it. This is easy. We
so
can do it.
can I explore just a little bit in there? Because I mean, on one level, and you write, very well about, the whole personalization and super personalization, and at the same time, there's a trade-off in terms of privacy. But also in this world you're talking about, where actually, we are curators of content now as well, and that the world will evolve where the curators will create more and more value independent of maybe the gatekeepers. And that's going to start having a big impact in terms of how we think about the world and how we think about economies. Can you maybe just talk to those points?
Okay. So let's start with the personalization. We talk about personalization or hyper personalization. It's not only marketing. I talk about personalized medicine. We are used to talk precise medicine. I'm talking about personalized shoes. Now personalized shoes are available only for wealthy people. Personalized suit, personalized everything, because we are not equal. We are individuals. Each of us has different characteristics. The problem is the mass production of the past. The mass production of the past now is changing. They cannot. I know they cannot have the same shoes that fits for everyone. You need to adapt. But in the past, in the future, we can have hyper-personalization. What I mean, for example, you share with your doctor your biological data after an exam, your genetic data, and the producer can prepare the exact compost or the exact medicine with the right, without any saying to you, please don't take two, take one, because they are personalized to you. So you don't need to eat chemical other than the ones you need to cure your. This is personalization, is not only personalization in the customer journey on the website. Absolutely. I'm not talking about that kind of personalization. I'm talking about personalization for people, for business model, to encounter this. And then what you're saying, the other argument is the servitization.
Privacy. So balancing data versus privacy.
Balance. Yes. In terms of privacy, my book is talked in some in different area. We have privacy about data privacy, about sharing that, and we have also privacy control. I think that in the future, thanks to decentralization, particularly thanks to the Web3, I think we will gain more control about our data, because the data will be decentralized. When we talk about decentralized social media, for example, threads, for example, Mastodon, why when we talk about decentralized, because we don't have a central authority that moderate the content. Each silos, each server can have different kind of in the terms of privacy, we will gain more value in protecting our data, because the data will be on our computer, will be no more on the central server. And this will match with the edge compute, with proximity, something that is really complex. But I see in the future that privacy will be, our data will be even more protected, thanks to the fact that the data will be under our control. But this, Tony, I can assure you, this will break many things. This will break many, because we have a lot of economic models that are based on exploiting our data. If you think about the big tech, if you think about yes, there are big tech that are exploiting our. So I see them to make a big leap forward to allow people to control their data. This is possible now, but what they will learn. So we see many platforms that are changing, but I really don't know how. In this time, I need to say that I don't know how this big tech will adapt when we will manage data.
You're also saying, no, in terms of curation, that we will start to own a lot more of what we put into the internet, the web, all that sort of stuff, and that starts to change the dynamic in terms of power, but also changes the power in terms of how economies work. So, how does that play out in there?
Okay. So decentralization. What if you imagine the world we are living now? We see, for example, Google, for example, Facebook, for example, Twitter, for example. Facebook, Instagram is the same. We can say Meta, we can say Google, we can say Twitter, we can say Meta, we can say LinkedIn. Can you see these four companies? They are US companies, as first US companies. They store all the data in their server, and we are not sure. I'm not a conspirationist, absolutely, but we are not sure. We are not sure if the data are not shared with government. Let me say, we don't know that. We don't know that. Probably yes, because the link between the tech company and innovation researched by US military, because basically all the technology we are using now is derived from military. If you think the ARPANET, we are using internet, but the internet is the son of the ARPANET that was invented by military. If you think about the predictive algorithm, I see in the 18, I was reading a research about the shift from software from deterministic software to probabilistic software. That is artificial intelligence now, probabilistic software. Everything born from a sector that invests a lot of money in that. So in my opinion, we need to see as first what this will be, because we are witnessing also what happened with TikTok. TikTok is the first example of non-US tech company. And what is happening with TikTok? We are protecting our investment. That is good. That is we need to protect, because it's about. But what happened in this verse? So this is the problem when you centralize too much. You centralize the power. You give a power. Every one of us has a small piece of power. If you bring to someone other, you are giving to him your power. And then the guy who receives your power, the organization that receive your power will become ever more powerful until it become unmanageable. Unmanageable, and they can do whatever they want without nothing. No one can say, please stop it.
No, but you do suggest that it will stop, and you say that we are going to see a rise of stakeholder capitalism, where particularly the younger generations are going to demand more ethical, responsible, socially responsible, all sort of things that would put companies under pressure to respond to. So, do you see that as something companies are resisting, or that they are alert to and they're kind of saying, "Yeah, we better get on this journey"?
Many are resisting, but the capitalism, shareholder capitalism, that is the absolute capitalism we have now, is not working anymore. Is not made for the future. Is a legacy of the past. Because when we have shareholder, we are witnessing now that we cannot stand no more against something that is, we have created 1%. Sorry, I repeat, I'm a capitalist, Tony, I have a company, I'm a capitalist. I cannot say, but But I see more about our role in fostering a better world, and everything can start by companies manage money, companies manage power, but you need to harness, you need to be good at manage that power. So I see the shift from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism. Let me say, I'm a bit watching to Charles Schwab, because this is the World Economic Forum that they send the signal to move toward a stakeholder capitalism. What is stakeholder capital? Is capitalism. Basically, is capitalism, is not socialism, it's capitalism, but it's a bit more open-ended capitalism that watch not only the needs of my shareholder, but yes, of course, the shareholder are the first, but we have also the employee, we have the subcontractors, we have the planet, we have the environment. So more attention to something that is very important for the planet, for the people. I want to say you one thing. I have my page, my Facebook page, where I have a lot of people from developing country. On that page, I share every day appeals of my knowledge about entrepreneurship, leadership, team leader. You know, I'm a leader because I run my company. I'm a CEO. I have my employees. I have my subcontractors, and I share with them every day appeals of leadership, team working, you know, and they appreciate. And they say, Antonio, when you write a book, every time, okay, I wrote a book. Do you know, Tony, I cannot sell my book in these developing countries because they are not reached by Amazon and Google Play book. I was stunned. I was wondering, is that real? Are you serious? Yes. Yes. Why you cannot sell an ebook that is digital, is not a paper? I know paper, because if they want to order the paper, they will cost 3 times the cover price because the transportation. The problem is that I don't understand why you don't sell the ebook that is easily, can be some copyright laws. I don't know, but can be. But
But on the stakeholders, I mean, and you do talk about this in the book. You kind of say, look, we need to move away from the CEO who knows everything to the CEO who engages with all their stakeholders and starts to understand.
Collective leadership. You're talking about collective leadership. Yeah. Collective leadership. Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting because, if we think about, traditional businesses, it was kind of command and control, the person at the top had the most experience, etc. But in this world where, it's changing rapidly and we're seeing disruption, be it technological or societal or demographics or whatnot, I think you draw out very well in terms of, well, actually, it needs a different type of leader who embraces the stakeholders. And you did use the word collective leadership, and also that focuses in on the nuances of the forces for change. And I'd be interested in your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Oh, I want to make an example. Do you know Kodak? Do you know
Yes.
the big company Kodak that in 2012 they failed, bankruptcy because of the advancement of digital camera. They was overwhelmed by, they don't sell any films. I want to tell you the story. In 1979, 2 Kodak employees achieved the patent. I put the reference in my book.
Yes.
Achieved the patents for an innovative camera that does not use film to store images, but instead uses an electronic device. What is that? Is that a digital camera? In my opinion, yes.
Yeah.
They achieved a patent in 1979, and the leadership of Kodak don't trust them. Don't think they was able to establish new strategy for the whole company. Was a missed link between the authority of the expert that are the employee I'm not talking about the last employee. I'm talking about the middleman, the middle layers, the C-suite. The C-suite, they achieve this patent, but the CEO and the board does not trust that the film was sooner to finish. The pellicola, the film was sooner to finish instead for digital. They don't trust their invention. So they say, thank you for your patent, but we don't think this will be the future. In 1979, in 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy. Now, what do they miss? They miss what I mean by collective leadership. So decentralization. This is another example of decentralized power also in organization. I'm not saying that everyone becomes CEO. No, I'm saying that the CEO must also harness the power he has under his feet. That is the people that are in line with him, to harness every time, to make, we have an example of Cisco that did in the past, we have other good example of companies that harness collective leadership, because, the people is the people that know the customer, they know the technology. In some company, the CEO are not related to some particular, I know, I'm not saying that CEO are not skilled. No, I want to mean that the CEO is more, in some company, a political role more than operationalizing.
Or they've got there because of experience that may not be relevant. And, it's funny when you think about it, Antonio, in terms of, your digital natives are probably already in a post-digital society, at least in their mind. And if our CEOs and CGs were tapping into their understanding of the world, right? So tapping into those as stakeholders, it could only benefit the firm in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. They can only benefit because, I'm linking again to the phenomenon I experienced with my book, that I cannot sell the book in developing countries where they need. Oh, we are talking about the expanding the market. We are talking about pressurize on consumer in our countries, in the Western. But why we don't harness to develop other countries, to give them new opportunities, to give them starting from instruction, starting from education, starting from availability of books, and then we create new markets instead of pressure consumer in our world, in our Western, buy this, buy that, buy that, buy this, buy that. I know we have a limited capacity. We can exploit new market. So can be this a new kind of stakeholder capitalism. The problem is the human willing to do that, Tony, in my opinion. Some people don't want to do because they don't trust.
But yeah, and look, you do reference in the book on a few places around, look, it's really important that we don't have a digital divide and that we don't exacerbate the digital divide that exists today. So, but I want to talk a bit about, I want to just maybe touch, you list out a whole range of technologies, but are all really interesting. I just want to touch on them for a minute, but then you pull them all together under key themes, and I want to explore the themes. But in terms of like, there's no end of disruptive technology, Antonio. You talk about generative AI, nanotechnology, AR, VR, MR, XR, digital twins, intelligent digital twins, artificial intelligence of things, cloud, edge, cyber, quantum and AI together. But when we think about all these, and we'll explore the themes that you've talked about, but it must be creating a challenge, though, in terms of the convergence of technology and humans. And how we need to think about all this, and how we even need to think about solving problems, or even what work will look like in the future.
Okay, as first, I think that we must harness technology as first to benefit, ourselves. For example, generative AI. Generative AI is not a substitution of our, is a perfect companion, in my opinion. But we are witnessing a lot of people that can be also CEO of companies that working on AI that are talking about something strange, the risk. We have governments that are meeting to AI symposium to create the rules. I never experienced something like that. So that means that you have a different interest. For example, the CEO of a company that is working on AI is talking about the danger of AI, or is talking about artificial general intelligence because he wants to raise more money. Because artificial general intelligence is not possible with our current understanding of the human brain. We need to first understand better the human brain. So please put your foot on the floor, put your feet on the floor, stay calm, stay relaxed, and then analyze what is really important. If you are a CEO and you want to harness technology, don't start from technology, start from your needs, start from your business model, starting from, but of course you need a consultant, you need advisor, you cannot do everything alone.
Yeah. And look, I suppose when you boiled it all down, you came up with some key themes. And they were really interesting teams, by the way. And I could see, Web3 and decentralization kind of, permeated through all of them. But the first team you came up with was people power, Web3 and the metaverse. And, the articulation of, we may not call it the metaverse, but the articulation of this immersive world that we are heading towards was really, really interesting. And I suppose it'd be good to get you to share your thoughts in terms of how you see this evolving for, individuals, consumers, people at home, whatever, for businesses and for society at large.
This will be, in my opinion, the big shift. This is why I need to study sociological science before writing the book, because I want to understand. We are digitalizing everything. We are transforming everything in bit and byte. But we have a big problem. We cannot unleash all this power if we do not find a way to let data become immutable, transaction become immutable for security, as you say, for privacy, etc. And then it arrived some years ago. I'm talking about distributed ledger technology. The well-known is blockchain. Blockchain, when many people confuse blockchain with cryptocurrency. Okay, let's please jump this misunderstanding. Talk only about blockchain and distributed ledger technology, because it's not only blockchain. We have many system. We have the Tangle that is based on a direct cyclic graph. It's something really complicated, complex, but it's manageable. So now we have the way to have immutability, data immutability. That is something we were searching for years. We have data transparency and data control. It looks like something that is opposite each other, is an oxymoron. No, they are complementary concepts. Immutability means when I made this transaction, that transaction is proofed, cannot be tampered, cannot be changed. If the chain is correctly installed, if collecting deployed, you absolutely cannot change that information. So basically, if we resonate about and then this is something that happened, blockchain, you cannot change the transaction. And then the non-fungible token come, the NFT, that is a token that give you a right, some right to something. So if you imagine right, but the right is not only the right to ownership of something, can be a picture, can be an image, can be a pen, can be a book. Ownership, the right is also something that allow me the right to be recognized. So we're talking about digital identity. Now it's possible digital identity with the cryptography, tokenization, etc. If you put together all these pieces, you see, oh, wow, really, I can have immutability of a transaction. I have a right. But if I have right, it can be also right to vote. Right to vote. Yeah, it can be. It's also right to vote. And when you make your vote, your poll, you cannot change my poll. I was thinking, oh, that is can be digital polls, digital election, can be interesting. But why don't go a bit more over and then thinking about why we have our representative now in power? Because they are our delegates. You know, we, the people, delegates many organizations, the bank, the politicians that represent us towards the law. We have a lot of delegation because many years ago it was not possible to have a direct connection, data immutability, digital right, digital identity, digital signature. But Tony, are you recognizing something familiar? Digital signature, they are something that exists. If you put together, you don't have only a bouquet of technology, you have a society that can change. I'm not saying that must change. This is important because I don't want to be noted as the revolutionary man. I'm not a revolutionary man. I'm an entrepreneur, a capitalist, a Westerner.
Well, but I think what you're highlighting, though, Antonio, is I think you refer to the triumvirate of blockchain, Web3, metaverse. I think what you're really getting at is, look, it's the confluence of technologies that creates the opportunity to change to a post-digital society. Because all of these technologies on their own, they're interesting, but when they start coming together, you now have all the, you have the immutable records, you have your own identity, you have your own digital assets, you have your ability to be in immersive worlds and to interact with digital and physical objects. But it's as they all come together, and I suppose to add to your earlier point is as that's just becomes second nature, where we're not even thinking about it, we're just doing it. Now you're really into a post-digital society.
And we are not seeing the complete picture of what we are doing. This is why I felt the need to research and write my book, because I want to give a common way of thinking, uniting blockchain, AI, edge computing, uniting cryptography, uniting digital signature, uniting NFT, uniting... I saw, oh, really? When I was researching, I was wondering myself, but we have now this possibility, because if we unite the cryptography token with the nuance, like now the Bitcoin has 4.0 as nuance, instead of putting 4.0, we put the election. We can vote not only for the election, we can vote every law, every single law. We have only the government, but we don't need the intermediary, that is the parliament. We don't need no more the parliament, because we have the people and the government. They can interact directly in a secure way, in a way that is immutable, in a way where we respect right. If you put together all the pieces of the puzzle, the picture will be different from uniting, from seeing only this piece of this piece. If you put together, and this is thanks to my extensive experience with cryptography in the Italian government. I stayed 7 years in Italy in the Ministry of Interior and the presidents to work about cryptography. This is I know very well how government works. This is why I'm talking. I'm not an idiot that is talking about something that I don't know. That are real life experience.
Well, for your average, senior leader out there, I mean, they need to get their minds around, the potential of all this and how it might impact on their business. And back to your earlier point, it's collective leadership, because you can't expect them to have the answers, but they need to work with people who can help them figure out the answers and make sense of it for their organizations and for themselves indeed. Now, you then lift it all up and you sort of say, look, there's the 3Ds, right? There's digitalization, decarbonization, and decentralization. And when you lift it all back up and sort of say, yeah, okay, where's all this? Where's it going? And what is it about? you're really focusing on these three. Now, we've talked about digitalization, we've talked about decentralization, decarbonization. How does that fit in? I know you do talk about, yeah, look, on one level, there's loads of energy being consumed, but you go way beyond that, and you also give examples in terms of even how people could be rewarded for the right behaviors. But how does it all come together? How does that piece come into it?
Every time putting the people on the stage. In that case, I was talking about energy communities. Energy communities is an interesting phenomenon where people, for example, in your building, you can have in a park, in a building, a house park, you can have renewable energy that is for one building. You have, and now, for example, we are witnessing also solar photovoltaic panels that are transparent, so you can put on the window. You don't need to put on the roof with installation. You can put on the window and they connect. So energy communities is a good concept of example, is a good example of how people can manage and can decarbonize. For example, an energy community is a group of people that unite to spend money for solar panel, photovoltaic. I'm talking about photovoltaic, but can be different renewal, and they share the consumption and the power they generated, they do not use, thanks to IoT smart meter that can manage the exchange between me and you. For example, my solar panel, your solar panel, you are at work, I am at home, I consume more energy than you, I use your energy because you are not using that energy, can be waste. So I use, and with the smart meter, I can pay you. And if you insert also a tokenization of this model. Tokenization means you can exchange token instead of exchange physical money. And so you can have the money to pay your current. Decarbonization means we have experience on how the damage that we are doing to the environment. Decarbonization is start thinking of something different for the future and involve people in the process, because we are the power, not the big companies, the big banks. They are expression of centralization, and this is something that is vanishing. Yeah, I know we have many years. We have more fight, but this is something that is vanishing. We are returning power to the people because it's right. It's the right thing to do. So energy community are an example where citizens can save the planet. They put together, they don't buy power from the provider, from the utility. They don't buy, they use their current they create with renewable. And this is an example. But in that case, for example, an obstacle can be central government that own the company that sell electricity. In Europe we have, in USA no, but in Europe we have still some company that is owned by the government. So the government is the one that block this kind of innovation. That is the truth.
Now we know from other stuff that the younger people are more attuned to sustainability and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you talk about, look, it is in the gift of companies to think about sustainability by design, to think about their role in the circular economy. And I'm just wondering, how alert are companies to the possibilities, and how active are they?
How activate, sorry.
How active are they? Are they actually doing it, or are they just sort of saying,
Yeah,
well, that's
yeah,
interesting?
no. The problem is that it's a long talk, how companies, because I think companies must see, must watch, must witness what is happening. You need to exchange also to understand your business model and what is happening, what can happen to your business model thanks to the digital evolution is something that you need today. I don't know day by day, but about the younger generation, it's important to give them a way to realize themselves. I have a son, Linda, that is younger than me. She's coming in the company. She's an engineer. Now she's evolving, but we must think really to create a better future for them, not only for the environment, also to manage their society, their economies, and not to put them in a world where we have 1%, 99%, we have rich people, we have poor people, we don't have an equitable world. We must pursue that, and young people are the best choice to choose, but I know it will be hard for them. We have too much power, concentration of power, too much.
Well, actually, one area we do have power, and that's in the case of ethics. And I love in the book you say AI who, and then you say, look, machines can only perform their performance tasks. To truly address AI ethics, we must talk about humans. So, we really need to, and I'm not sure what your experience is in terms of our leaders attuned to the fact that ultimately they need to set the ethics standards and they need to hold themselves and the organization to account, because it's all very well talking about disruptive technologies and whatnot, but if you haven't figured out how they're going to be used in your organization and how they will impact or drive outcomes in your business, you're really not getting off to a good start.
Yeah, I think ethic is one important quality of good leaders, but sometimes ethic is not linked to performance, and that is something that is real. So you need to consider that, and you need to make a balance. This is why I wrote also an article, working on the tightrope between opportunity and threat of AI. AI VU, why AI VU? Because I listen, many people are saying, we need to regulate AI, we need to control AI, but AI, but do you know what are you talking about? You are talking about a software that I trust is relying on 0 and 1. 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. That is, we have only two possible states. Using two states, we are doing the unimaginable. And this is good. This is the human ingenuity. Is not the machine, it's the human ingenuity that's built AI only with the 0 and with 1. It's only possible because of a human being, not so if you want to regulate, if you want to save, you need to talk with human beings, not with AI, as you did with the guns.
Yeah.
Guns does not kill people. Men kill people using guns. Sorry, I'm Italian. I'm not fluid in talking, but I hope you understand.
No, I get the point, and I think you make it very well in the book that, look, at the end of the day, technology is just a tool, and it's humans who decide how that tool will be used.
Like a gun. You cannot say the gun killed people. No, this is untrue. It's not true.
So, Antonio, I'm conscious of time, but I have one last question for you. In the book, you say, the Paris Agreement requires us to be climate neutral economies with net zero greenhouse emissions by 2050.
Yeah.
And this is precisely the same time frame that you envision a post-digital society taking place. So what gives you the confidence that that's going to happen?
It's a coincidence, and it's only a prediction. I cannot say I'm confident in 2045 in January at I am unable to say that, because if I can say that, I play to lotto 3 numbers. I need only 3-4 numbers to predict the 3 numbers. I become rich. The problem is that giving the evolution of the past year, in particular in the last 5 years, from 10 years, from 2010, when we see the mobile, the smartphone, that is this device that start accelerating. I thought, what is the potential time frame that happened? So in 2022, I say, okay, we can have, as we can see, that the AI is become generative, and then we can see more and more acceleration of innovation thanks to human that harness generative AI, not thanks to generative AI. I like talking this way. Sorry, I know many are not agree, but I think thanks to human that use the tool of generative AI, that is a software. So I imagine that the metaverse, many companies are investing on the metaverse. Many companies, industrial companies, are investing on the industrial metaverse. I follow Siemens. I follow Meta. I'm in contact with many companies. I can see their development. This is why I see 10 to 15. 10 to 15 is a 50% of error. That is huge. So it's not precise at all. But 10 to 15 years, I think we can start to realize, thinking about that power to the people is starting from centuries, from monarchy to democracy to republic. Power to people, decentralization is started long time ago. Is not started with blockchain. Decentralization started when people in France, in UK, in Italy achieve control of their power, can decide who must govern the country, not because you are son of this or son of that, you are the prime minister. No more. This is no more. So the decentralization started, but if you think it take centuries to become reality for almost not every country, for many countries around the world. But then we see an acceleration of the rule of people. User-generated content gave us a new power to be heard by someone else, not using the media. I remember when I was young, if you want to express your opinion, you must write a letter to the newspaper. You write a letter to the do you remember? You write a letter to the newspaper. The journalists read your letter. If we like what you write, they can publish your. That is a shame. That is a filter. That is discrimination. That is not equity. So now we have, and this give people the power to think about their future and to pretend more, because we must start pretending more thanks to the digital evolution. Without revolution like in France, absolutely.
Well, look,
Absolutely.
I think the book is a great read. So if anyone is interested in getting their mind around what a post-digital society might look like, they definitely should read it. Antonio, it's been a blast. Thank you so much for your time. If people want to reach out to you, where's the best place? LinkedIn?
Also, you can search on Google or LinkedIn or Twitter. I have many ways to be contacted. Tony, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
No, and thank you, Antonio. And as I say, Antonio has a huge following. I recommend you do follow him. So I'd like to thank Antonio. I'd like to thank our audience. I'd like to thank the Digital Transformation Lab and our chair, Paddy O'Reilly. And I'd like to thank Cork University Business School for their ongoing support. So thank you indeed, Antonio, and thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Tony.